Hey, how you doing there again, folks? Me again, of course, Brandon Wenzel. Come back at you. Another offering off my sampler platter. Yes, indeed, folks. Sampler review series B's. I've been doing for a little while now. Go over there, try out food and drink items. I eat stuff and drink stuff. Then, folks, I'm gonna talk about stuff. I'm gonna let you know all that you need to know about hopefully delicious stuff. That time I'm doing this, folks, I'm not gonna lie, it's root beer, and that makes me happy. But we'll get to that. Folks, it's super simple format. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to try out food and or drink items for you. Whilst I'm doing so, I'm yammering on about it for a bit. Whilst I'm doing all that, I'm inside my truck. And whilst I'm doing all that, I'm wearing a super cool shirt. Folks, when I wear super cool shirts, I always like to highlight the super cool shirt. What super cool shirt am I wearing for you today, though? Happens to be my ham sushi shirt. I love this shirt, man. It's definitely my most adorable shirt. I have hamsters, so it ties into the whole ham sushi thing. Look, they're adorable and they're silly. But no, I love this shirt. It's also one of the shirts that probably gets the most attention when I go out, because more often than not, I wear like band shirts and stuff, and every now and again I get somebody who's like, "Hey, band," But this is one of those things that like sort of universally a lot of people can just kind of get behind. They just find it adorable, as do I. But yeah, I'm a big fan of animals. I have a few pets. I have a cat, a hedgehog, and at the time I'm doing this, 4 hamsters. At one point in time, I had considerably more hamsters. I literally converted my entire back room into my hamtorium. That was my project for a couple years. I scaled it way down. I love doing it, but it was just the finances plus just all the work I had to put into it. Eventually, I had to dial it back. But I love my hamsters. I love my hedgehog. I love my cat. They're all awesome. But anyway, what am I trying for you today, folks? What are we doing here? Well, like I said, it's a root beer review. Which, by the way, because it's a root beer review, it's going to end up in my root beer reviews playlist, which is playlist for just root beer reviews. Self-explanatory. I just got through doing a couple of reviews from Boom, Jersey Mike's subs. Did their spicy chicken Italian sub and their roasted chicken breast sub, so go watch those reviews if you're interested. One of the things that I really like about Jersey Mike's, besides their subs, is that they have a brand of root beer that you usually can't find just anywhere. Sometimes you'll find it here or there, but it's always there, and it happens to be, boom, it's from Stubborn. This is Stubborn Soda. This is their classic root beer. Now, I have reviewed this kinda in the past. I went over there and I did, what was it? It was or did I You know what? I did their cream soda, not their root beer. Now that I think about it. Because I was thinking I did it as like part of my cream soda reviews, but I was like, that wouldn't make sense. So, okay, I guess we're just reviewing Stubborn root beer. Neat. Let's get a thing for a thing. It looks like this, and we'll go, ha, 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 ha. And yeah, let's try it out, man. Smells really nice. Ooh, tastes really nice, too. Now, I should mention, I have had Stubborn root beer before. In fact, the only reason why I didn't review it was because in my head, again, I thought I'd reviewed it in the past. But now realizing that had to have been the cream soda that I reviewed. I like this. And yeah, I've always liked the Stubborn root beer. I definitely appreciate the fact you can get it in cans, or you can actually get it as a fountain drink when you go to Jersey Mike's. So they definitely have some sort of deal with them, and I always like that. I always like the Stubborn sodas. I feel like they have a little bit more of an edge to them, They're not trying to be, like, they're a little bit more niche, They're not trying to be everybody's friend. They're stubborn, like they said. Obviously they want sales and stuff, but they taste more like sodas should taste to me, in my opinion. Like I said, they got a little bit, a little extra harshness to them, and I like that. When it comes to root beers, it's kind of two camps, in my opinion, and I've mentioned this before. You've got, on the one hand, the more sweet kind of commercial root beers, like your A&W and your Mug. Nice root beers in their own way, good for certain things. But for me, personally, a little bit too sweet, a little bit too commercial. Then you have like your Barks and your Dads, which are stronger root beers. They taste more root beer flavored, in my opinion, and they've got that bite to it. So I typically, when I'm trying for root beer, I want something that's going to be closer to the barks and the dads. This, definitely closer to the barks and the dads, but I do think it begs mentioning that it does have some elements that I would sort of associate with more like an A&W. It has kind of a creaminess to it that I wouldn't normally think of when I think of barks. Definitely not dads. Dads almost has like a smokiness to it. But it still has that strong root beer flavor, almost kind of aniseedy, a little bit. I once heard one of my friends describe root beer as one of the reason why she didn't like it is because it tasted almost medicinal to her, and I get what she's kind of talking about. It definitely has like a sort of root and botanical kind of vibe to it when it comes to certain things, certain flavors, and I think that's why like A&W and Mug work so well. They're just sweeter. They don't emphasize those flavors. This has those flavors there, but it also has like a nice sort of creaminess that I would associate more with an A&W. It's a really nice root beer. It maybe doesn't have the bite that I would like because again, that bite is sort of supplemented by the creaminess. But at the same time, like it's almost a mix between like an A&W and a Barks because it has the creaminess from that, but then it has that strong root beer flavor that I would associate more with like a Barks or a Dad's. So it's actually a really nice thing. And like I've certainly had stubborn root beer before, but I don't think I've ever really sat down and just sort of assessed it. And it's really interesting doing that now, sort of defining those different flavors and the different things that it does that, I can associate with other types of root beer. I really enjoy this. And it's got a little bit of a heaviness to it, which I like in a root beer. I don't want my root beer to be light tasting. I want it to have some oomph, And I would say that this does that. But two questions have to be asked. Would I get it again? Would I recommend it? I mean, I have to go yes and yes. I think for myself personally, definitely every time I go to Jersey Mike's, I'll get myself a can. To be fair, sometimes I will go over there because they don't just have the root beer. They also have the cream soda and I think it's the black cherry soda, I want to say. And every now and again, I'll get one of those too. But I usually do the root beer because I love root beer, obviously. But this is a good root beer, man. Like I said, excuse me. Well, it does somewhat walk a narrow path between the Barks and the Dads and the A&W and the Mug. I do think that it still leans more on the Barks and the Dads side, which for me is what I like in a root beer. I like that root beer flavor. And I don't mind that it has that creaminess. I'd prefer the bite, that you get with Barks or Dads. But again, I don't mind it. And one of the things I like about root beer is that you can take it in so many different directions. And I think that, Stubborn does a really good job with that. Like, it's really tasty. And I think, like I said, they use nice elements that I would associate with different brands to make a really nice root beer. And I know for myself, like I said, I'll definitely get that again. And if I'm recommending it, excuse me, I mean, because, again, I do think it sort of has qualities of both. It either is going to be something that I think you'd be really into or something that you would be not into at all, because that tends to be the case with those sort of almost hybrid styles. I think that if you're more along the lines of the Barks and the Dads, you'd be more in favor of this, because if you're somebody who you're a Mug and an A&W person, this might have a little bit too much of that like stronger root beer flavor. You might not be into it, but it does have that nice creaminess. It's very easy to drink. So I think this is one of those things. I think if you run into it, if you're a root beer fan, I do think you kind of owe it to yourself. It's not the best root beer I've ever had or anything, but I would definitely put it in, well within the tier structure of being, a damn fine root beer. It's doing a good job. There's nothing about it I dislike. There's just certain things that I have, greater preference for. So, 5 things before I get out of here. Have yourself a great rest of your day, spectacular rest of your week, monumental rest of your month, stupendous rest of your year. Folks, go over there and have yourselves a truly stubborn-tastic rest of your life. Don't do that, by the way. Don't be a stubborn person. Sometimes you have to be, but in my own experience, I would say 9 times out of 10, going over there and just having a logical discourse, having a good conversation with somebody, way better than planting your heels and being unwilling to, find a solution. That's just me, though. Final two things. Number one, try to bring some positivity into the world. It's not always possible. It is, however, always appreciated. But what you do can't do it all the time. I know I can't do it all the time. Here's what you're going to do, folks. You're going to try not to be an asshole. Now, folks, not always the easiest thing in the world to not be an asshole. Trust me. I know it. I live it. I'm out there every day with you in it. Life can be stressful and frustrating and just bullshit sometimes, folks. And when we find ourselves in situations where we have to deal with said bullshit, it's important we go over there whenever possible. Take a step back. Try to mitigate the level of assholishness in our lives. Hopefully, do better for ourselves and for those around us. Very final thing, folks, do the thing. Whatever the thing is for you, that's what I want you to go out and do. Folks, do you have a favorite root beer brand? And if it is, what is it? Let me know in the comments, Even if it's like A&W or Mug, I never want it to feel like I'm bashing on A&W and Mug, They're not my favorite root beers, but I still drink them. Absolutely I do. There's times when I just want an A&W. There's occasional times when I just want a Mug. They're just not my go-to, but I'd be more than happy to go over there and, chat root beer with you if you happen to be interested. But anyway,